In the 15th century, Portugal was poor, and it became more so as the Ottomans contested their access to overland trade. But luckily for Portugal, the fourth son of their king was Prince Henry, who came to be called the Navigator because he funded and encouraged exploration, the study of navigation, and the development of new tools to aid in navigation. The Portuguese began to increase their travels along the Mediterranean southern shore, and by the mid-15th century, they were venturing southward along the Atlantic coast of Africa, where they expected to find vast wealth. In those days, Africa was rich in food, salt, gold, and slaves. In this pursuit of food, slaves, and gold, the Portuguese gradually made their way down the African coast, locating island clusters like the Canaries, and they kidnapped local people to sell into European slave markets and began dotting the coast with stone fortresses that doubled as trading stations. So in 1488, Bartholomew Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope, or as it was called at the time, the Cape of Storms, and then the Portuguese ventured even further afield into the Indian Ocean. When we talk about explorers and exploring, we often conjure up images of intrepid groups wearing hats trekking through empty lands in search of hidden treasures, but that was certainly not the reality when, for instance, Vasco da Gama reached India in 1498 and found a highly developed Indian Ocean commerce with trading posts run by sophisticated Muslim merchants. Da Gama's instincts were to menace and fight them, and he did. And when the Portuguese reached Southeast Asia and China, they found a cornucopia of goods that Europeans would come to crave and about whose production they knew very little. Colorful washable cottons, finely crafted porcelain, also tea. By the 17th century, the Portuguese were importing millions of pieces of porcelain into Europe, along with lots of delicious spices. And spices were not only important for flavoring, but also for food preservation, which I suppose is a kind of flavoring if you like your food to not taste moldy. The Portuguese Empire was, at first anyway, a trading empire, with small and agile ships known as caravels patrolling ports and collecting large fees. The wealth would be extracted from controlling shipping and trading routes, as the Ottomans were doing in the eastern Mediterranean. In contrast, the Spanish Empire, which began in 1492 with the exploratory voyages of Genoese ship captain Christopher Columbus, was based on colonies. That is, rather than controlling trade routes, the empire would control the land itself and the people who lived there and extract wealth from them to enrich the empire. Columbus was a student of geography and maps, and he lobbied the Portuguese king to back his voyages, but when that didn't go to plan, he headed for Spain to petition its devoutly Catholic rulers, Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon. These two monarchs were finishing up the drive to expel Muslims from Spain and force Spanish Jews to convert to Christianity, but religious persecution wasn't cheap. The motto of the Iberian Pathfinders, God, Gold, and Glory, perfectly described their ambitions, although perhaps not in that order. Hopping the islands along the African coasts and using the trade winds, Columbus's ships made it to the Caribbean islands, and his crews, which tellingly included both clergy and bankers, found signs of gold, but not great quantities of it. However, they did find people to enslave, and because no one knew the size or shape of the Americas, there was the perpetual hope that gold or other riches might lie just on the other side of this river or that mountain.